Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I am your host, Ron, broadcasting to you from the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I have here with me tonight in the Xtreme Studios the young 20-something Professor Pixel. And tonight we're continuing our first watch ever of Columbo. We are on season 4. I believe it's episode 5, Playback. Not to be confused with Payback. That's, from the late 90s. This film noir thing that's got Mel Gibson in it. But the Columbo-led mystery. And I got to tell you, after what I thought was a relatively immodest and weak episode with Dick Van Dyke, we followed up with a pretty strong one last week. And boy, I think there's going to be a lot to be said about this one because I haven't seen this Pixel, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of strong elements in this one here too, and a lot of it's going to be about the main guy, this Oskar Werner German actor that Peter Falk himself, I think, flew over to Germany to get him over here because he was like a big fucking deal at the time. And I have a tough time getting past his hair, and I'm just going to put that right there out in the open. But overall, there's some phenomenal things about this episode, and it was a very strong episode to me. And I could actually argue, and when I went back and watched it the second time, I could say it even got better on a rewatch. What's your initial take on this episode, sir?
He's got the hair of a German beetle.
That's an interesting take, but yeah, it's just this. The old days we would call it foppish hair, but it just doesn't befit him and his the way he carries himself. You look at him, you think he's a village idiot. It's the village idiot haircut, right? It just is not right. And in the 70s, you had different kinds of fashion. I'm not knocking him or something, but it was not presented well with him and how good he was in this. Because he honestly, there's an argument to be made. This guy's one of the top tier assholes. Not I'm talking smart guys Columbo's come across or cool guys, but just dark assholes. And we'll talk more about it as the episode goes on. But yeah, he does have a look, doesn't he?
He does. But our first look at him is dark. Let's get right into it.
Yep.
Night outside, we see him in the garden, and he is putting some mulch, kicking on the wall with his shoe, and he is not punching out, but getting the glass out of the window pane. This is set up. He goes inside where we get to meet the little family that's within. We have this older woman. I can't remember her name. But we also have his wife.
Mother-in-law.
Huh?
Mother-in-law.
Yes, his mother-in-law, his brother-in-law, and his wife. And his wife is in this smart wheelchair.
Could you tell she was in a wheelchair right off the bat?
No,
I wasn't paying
not at
attention
all,
to that. It took me a while. Then I went, oh, she's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, as soon as he went over and because they actually make a comment within the conversation, talking about, he mentions his wife and saying that she's incapable, and the mother-in-law says, "Don't call her incapable." And I'm like, why did he say that? And then he goes over and pulls her out with the wheelchair. I'm like, oh.
I think the scene is intentionally set up for her to not necessarily be where it's that obvious till they get into it.
I think so too. But the mother-in-law wants to speak with him privately, so the wife goes ahead. The brother goes home. Huh?
Margaret
wants to have a word with him in private, and it turns out that she's not a fan with how her son-in-law has been running her company. With all these little gadgets and this ridiculous smart home he's built. So she wants his resignation effective tomorrow, and she's going to or else.
What's the weight she's got on him?
Yeah, because that's how she's going to get him to do it. She'll tell her daughter about the affairs that he's been having. She sent a private investigator after him, and all these places that he goes away, women here in Malibu, and yeah. So he doesn't want that, but it seems he already has a plan in mind. So he bids her good night, and then starts getting everything set up. He has this little room because there are cameras throughout the place.
Control room.
He has his own control room from within.
Not quite a war room to me, for those who care, but control room to me.
He has some blank tape. He tapes over the empty foyer that he's got, and after he's taped a little bit, he's like, okay, perfect, I'll set it up as loop. And using that, he's able to he pushes over a pot. The mother's about to go to bed. She hears that, turns around, goes towards it, and there he is, standing in a dark corner where the camera won't see him. Shoots her, she falls, and immediately he's into action. He gets it set to a timer. He goes out the front door. Oh, it's a 9:14 or 9:13, and he's going to a party. When the shot happens, the wife rings down, thinking that she heard something in her sleep. But no, you're fine, honey. Your mother, she's still listening to her music in the other room. And off he goes. The timer goes off while he's at the party. The footage plays so that the security guard outside sees the mother-in-law getting shot. He rushes in because now the tape is running, and that's what they have. And he gets a call that night to go ahead and come back because somebody has broken in. And this is when Columbo enters the scene.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here, and on the second rewatch, I went, "Oh my god, this is just done very well." Because again, like I say, it didn't seem like she was prominently displayed, even though she's in the center of your screen. And for me, when I saw him go in there, one, I thought he carried himself elegantly, not with a faux swishiness of some Euro trash, wannabe Playboy guy or whatever like that. This guy carried himself, I thought, very firmly and strongly. A little different than an American attitude. Not quite a snob, but he's got what I would call, look, you can be an asshole. That's different than being a dick. And he's got a bit of a dickishness to him. And a dickishness attitude in somebody you can almost respect a little bit, because being a dick is a choice and it's just your behavior patterns or whatever. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but it's different than somebody, just stupid or dumb or arrogant. It's just, there's a different kind of feel to it. And the thing is I had this big kind of mental disconnect between the way his hair looks, but then when he walks in and he has a baritone, I'm not gonna say it's a deep, rich one, but it's not feminine in any means. He's like, "I love you, darling. You look beautiful tonight." And he's kissing her, and she's in the most non-sexual outfit of all time. She's got this long dress from like neck to heel or whatever like that. She's very elegant, beautiful woman, classy. You can tell she really loves her husband, who happens to be running her mother's job. So we don't really know anything about it, but what I wanted to fill in with some of my, being an 80s teenager, some of the things that makes this a little bit special. And one, I could care less about camera taping and reel-to-reel, and we've seen stuff like it. But at the time, him having a digital watch with it was an LED, it was fucking cutting edge. I'm not saying it's good, because mechanical old school watches are a hell of a lot more elegant, classy, and just better in my opinion. However, the transistor getting into the mainstream and getting into things like radios and stereos and all that was huge. And we mentioned this before a little bit with the photography in some of the episodes about how, for me, seeing that was really kind of cool as a period piece. Because again, the show's this is 51 years ago as of our recording here in 2026. And so I liked actually the verbal sparring between the mother-in-law and him, because here's the thing. Mother-in-law owns the company. She says she doesn't like how things are going from one quarter to another. You don't have to say what the numbers are or the percentages or get geeky. Nobody gives a shit. The point's communicated to you as a viewer that she's not liking the fact that he made a decision to transition into what he thinks the future, which is these microelectronic devices. But the thing is, in reality, he was fucking right. And it doesn't matter the episode, but it's just really incredible that they said, you know what? Let's put something like this that's now starting to become a thing in the 70s and get it in an episode. I love it, right? It'd be like if you used AI in a movie, right? Which we've seen, right? So there's also some interesting writing as far as the lines go that I thought were great lines, like when he's helping her go up the motorized stair path and all that, because that would come into play with his wife. Like, oh, okay, he's gonna fucking kill the wife. He's gonna have to do all this elaborate stuff because it's a smart home. He knows what he's doing. Okay, how, and he's set up part of it, right? He's getting ready to go do it again. So when he's going up the stairs with her, he's like, she says, "Oh, I heard you and your mom going at her," or something like that. And he's like, well, sometimes your mom, I just had an argument with her or whatever, I could like that in. And it was just kind of like he was saying that kind of like it's just, hey, we're talking, but that's kind of what really happened. But you can tell, and this is the beautiful thing about, especially on rewatch, and if you catch it early enough, it really tells you how evil this guy is. It's not the way he kills the mother-in-law. It's the way he treats his wife, because you look at him, he dotes on her, he treats her really well. She generally loves him, and she's not a sap. She's not whatever. She goes and he puts her in bed. He's getting her a glass of water and all that. She's laying there in her little frou-frou outfit and all that with the really nice silk stuff and all that. And she's staring at him and just looking at her. And this actress is phenomenal. I'm telling you, bro. She's like talking or whatever, and she just is looking at him. She's like, I love you. And it's like, huh? Because he's not really paying attention to her. He's getting stuff for her. He's like, oh, I love you too. Yes, I have to go to the thing. And it might be missed, but the quick exchange here, if you're watching her, is she's like, I'll go with you. And it's like, no, it's too crowded. There's all these gossiping people. It's just a thing. I'll hop in, I'll hop out. He's working on his alibi. But he's actually not talking down to her at all. He's really got this well thought out, and he's really treating her well. And she's just looking at him with all the lovey-dovey in her eyes. She wants him to stay and make love to her. And he's like not even reading the signs at all that. And he's like, oh, later or whatever, basically. And she's okay with it. It was done so well, but it was kind of so sad to see, because what man turns down, a night of love making with this woman, right? Even if she's in a wheelchair and maybe things don't work as they normally do. She does not come across as being incapacitated. It's just such an incredible dynamic, and that's going to be the meat and potatoes episode, which I was not prepared for, because when he goes to do all his gadgetry kind of stuff, okay, it is what it is, right? We'll talk about that with the gotcha. Again, cutting edge at the time, it's a big deal. It means nothing by today's standards. I looked this house up today, Pixel. It's actually for sale right now, and I think it's going for a little over $40 million. It's about 7,000 square feet, and it's been redone a little bit on the inside. But I remember really liking the way that the gardens looked. So out of curiosity, I looked it up and then checked out, and I thought, I love how Columbo uses a lot of locations, even if it's just the outside stuff and maybe what's inside the setup. I'm not sure how that goes. But him killing her wasn't really like, I don't know, scary or intimidating or like that. It was kind of like, no, it was kind of like well, how do you say it? It just was underwhelming, but what I enjoyed, again, like I say, was how he treated his wife. So setting up the police officer and all that wasn't a big deal. But let's talk about this guy's sweet ass. Was it a Mercedes he's driving and all that? Writes the 913 down time on the where he's going, and hands it to the guard, which is important. It's not a throwaway. And when he gets there, oh my God, this is probably one of the slides that I gave you. I don't know if you have it up right now.
Oh, yes.
So let's start with the slides.
Because we had him with the wife, and then he goes to the party.
Yeah, start with the first one. Because I think I had about 6 of them, or maybe 7. And I know you might have a few. Okay.
There's them together, him and his wife. But then when he goes to the party, he gets greeted by this very lovely woman.
Wow, what a stunner. She's played in a lot of stuff. She was actually in I think the movie called The Private Eyes with Tim Conway and Don Knotts, which means nothing to you, but I remember liking that as a kid, because I always liked Don Knotts a little bit and Tim Conway. That was like a 70s thing. I'm looking at her going, hubba, she needs to be a part of this or whatever. Okay, I understand why he's doing what he's doing. He's going to leave his wife and blah, blah, blah. He's going to involve this hottie here, and he doesn't. Look at that. That is stunning. That's what everyone looked like in the 70s and going into the 80s, Pixel. I'm not exaggerating. Look at that. And look at her eyes. This guy's got more Riz walking around here than anybody you know of lately or whatever like that. She's ready to go in with him right now. This is pure elegance and class. This woman is just stunning. I honestly, and this is where I was disappointed with last episode and this one, even though they've used the women to a good effect, they're just side pieces. And I'm waiting to have like another really strong woman, which we kind of do get in this episode, I think, at the end, but just as a more main one, or even a female killer, because look at her. Just look at that. What's the next slide, by the way, out of curiosity?
Next is him showing the watch, because he's very specific about the time. Yeah. When Columbo finally gets to the scene, he's under the weather. His voice sounds a little lower than usual. Mm-hmm. And he's going around. It's funny, because I was just noticing as it was happening, it almost felt like it was on purpose that Oskar, Werner, Harold was avoiding Columbo, because he shows up and he passes right by. They don't even look at each other. And then
That's
the second
really
he
good
goes to the
observation.
wife,
Yes,
as
I like that.
Columbo's getting addressed, and then Columbo finally goes to talk to the wife, and the guy's gone. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Where could he be? But finally, he does get to speak with Mr. Van Wyck, and he says, "Oh yes, well, I left about 9:13, and I know because I have this," and he shows his fancy watch.
I'm telling. Well, that was the cutting edge of the time. You press the button, you have a little battery built into it. You press it, and it comes out. But most watches for men, Pixel, back in the day, were basically gold, because what you do is you would match up your accoutrement, if you will, your watch and your belt. So you'd have a square belt face, not round, because round's feminine, and you would have usually a square-faced watch or rectangular, usually gold or gold-plated, like what he's got, and it does match what he has. And you would match up your cuffs to that too. See how he's got the cufflinks there on the end, and he's dressed well. He's got the half-inch tailored on each side, and that's not what we see a lot. So I always bitch about it because I'm always looking for it. And he's rocking the it's not an ascot. What is it? A cravat there on the neck thing. I always like that with guys. You never see that anymore. So he's, again, that hair is just atrocious. I just, no, I'm really not trying to make fun of the guy, because if you take that away from here, this guy's probably in the top 3 of bad guys of all time. He's that good, because the observation you made about him not even giving a flying fuck about Columbo being there or whoever's there and walking past him, we almost never see that. So despite his looks, or maybe because of that, it was hard to take him seriously at first, but sometimes these behaviors, the way he placates his wife, the way he ignores Columbo, I'm going, you know what? This actor that got pulled over from Europe, who was a big deal at the time to do this episode, he's taking a really unique approach to it. And you know what? I'm gonna put this on him too, even though it's not a part of the episode. This followed probably one of the strongest performances of any bad guy. I'm not going to say the best guy, but in terms of performances with Patrick McGowan in the last episode, are you fucking kidding me? Wow, how hard would it be to follow with that? I almost thought for sure if they were going to have a female villain, it would be in this episode, just as a contrast, right? But this guy's not automatically shitty or what like that. But that's why I like it. I know it sounds odd, lieutenants, but I have this special watch. He's not interested at all in sharing or trying to help Columbo out. That's the amazing about it. He doesn't care. That's what makes him unique with that. I thought it was really interesting, because this doesn't seem like much of a scene, but it sets up the way he is the rest of the episode. Perfect observation on your part, sir.
Well, here's the thing, and he goes ahead and he starts giving, because he's speaking to Columbo, shows the watch, and he explains, "Oh, well, we have cameras," and he shows the room, and he says that the camera is facing the safe. This safe that at first glance you're not even going to know it's there.
Right, because he's got it hidden behind a panel or something, I think.
Yeah, it's a wall panel that you have to press to go ahead and get it to open. Otherwise, it looks like it's just a part of the wall. Part of that suspension of disbelief, the fact that they go ahead and have, oh well, we were expecting a robbery, not a murderer.
What a great fucking line.
But that's so ridiculous. Your safe, unless it's somebody who knows about the safe, they're not going to be there for that. And there's no line of suspects to even think about, oh, well, maybe the brother or something. There's nothing there. It's meatless. It's just... like if he had even a painting safe, like, oh well, I believe that behind there, that's where he's going to keep the goods, but it's untraceable. Like, it's...
What's the issue exactly?
How would a robber know? How would a burglar know that there's a safe in that wall spot right there?
It's irrelevant, though, isn't it?
I don't think so. Not at all.
Because he's got the majority of the room, but it's the line of sight is directly on where the safe would be. That's the only thing that they're trying to protect. So that's the only thing that they're trying to cover. And whether or not somebody would know it, it's not. But also understand too, what if somebody inside the house goes to steal it, like a brother or a family member or a wife or another family? You know what I'm saying? Because remember, he's the one that designed it, put it in, so they all know it. So that kind of keeps them all honest, right?
So a group
I know
of
what you're saying. It seems like it
5
should be everywhere,
people,
but
and
this.
it, it was just like, it wasn't even like he was trying to, if he had a side angle of trying to frame that the brother accidentally did it,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that would have helped me go ahead and just push past it. But I can't help but think he pops that open, and like, we didn't know the safe was there. So have the camera
Behind the
and
wood
that angle,
paneling.
we
Come on,
understand it
bro.
now, but it's
Oh,
like,
all this wood furniture, ferns that were so big in the 70s and 80s, man. I'm telling you, that's what got
no, it's a
knocked
good
over.
looking house, like
There were
inside of it.
upholstered furniture. Yes, this is. Oh man, I'm just. Oh, this is incredible. Love it. It's all analog too. Look at that phone on the desk. I'm looking at it right now. Big, heavy ass wood desk. It takes like 14 people to move. That's what I'm talking about. The ship that's made out there. It's not even in the glass. It's just separate. I mean, that is a man's room, sir. And so, of course, you're going to have a hidden panel with your safe. Just saying.
I mean,
It's always behind a painting typically, but here it wasn't. I will give you that.
yes.
But to your
Just
point, I can see where it's thin, and we do have to kind of stretch it a little bit sometimes with Columbo episodes just to kind of let it work. It was plausible enough for me where I go, okay, whatever. Because the whole indifference thing, I think, was really what they're showing here.
yeah. Well, we
That's
get
way to
to
basically
the
say, fuck you, Columbo.
we get to the next morning. Actually, no, it is. That's what he looks at. He looks at the mulch. He goes outside. He has the dog with him. We haven't seen the dog in so many episodes. The dog is our harbinger. We know.
Well, before that, though, in the evening, he does talk to security guy. And he's like,
Oh,
yeah, he handed me this thing that has puts autonomous. Like, well, why would he do that? And he goes, well, because, this is kind of what he does. He's always da, da, da. And he says, when a person says something and he does something different, I immediately think, why? So I think, honestly, at this point, this is where he thinks he's the bad guy. That was my take
that's
on it. That's
fair.
what I
That's fair
thought.
because he goes and speaks with him one more time after that, where he
Yeah, to
asks
clear it up.
about why you don't have a second camera.
Right. If they
Um,
didn't do that, I think that would allow, like what you're saying, to be more like the big gaping hole in the plot rather than, maybe, what I'm saying? So I think that saved it for me is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You know what's funny in the morning, though? When Columbo's back, he has the dog. You stay there, and the dog's barking up a storm. Columbo goes around, and we see Van
He's
Wyck
illegally
come
searched,
out,
of course.
and he looks at the car, and he looks so pissed off, like utterly annoyed, and walks around the house to go find Columbo.
That's a sweet convertible yellow Mercedes. God damn, that's a good looking car. Man, top down and everything. The leather briefcase, because if it's man, you gotta have a leather briefcase, right? No, this is when I was like, wow, I really like this house. We haven't seen a really good set piece, I think, for a while. I mean, the one with McGowan at the military center was interesting, but it wasn't really sexy, right? But this is complete like upscale New York or whatever. But yeah, this is the thing that annoys me with Columbo is it's like, get the fuck off my lawn, bro. Get off my lawn. I think that's one of the also probably I don't know which slides you have because I haven't seen them yet, but it's mulch. Because I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. I'm in Florida. We have mulch everywhere. He's like, I have no idea what the fuck it is.
This is great because Van Wyck thought of making up the story of okay, he's going around up there and he climbs in through the back, but to leave the mulch on the wall there, and then there's none inside. Like, and he's like, oh, well, maybe he took off his shoes. And Columbo's like, oh, yeah, of course. What? Columbo doesn't buy that. You can tell he doesn't buy that at all.
Yeah, I'm going to say something that you didn't say because I think we look at things differently, which is why I love talking about these things. To your point, when he comes up with dog, I really was like, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm really trying hard here. And you bring this stupid dog here. And I'm a dog guy. I am. It just does not work for me. I'm going, are they doing this for humor? Because this is not one of the longer episodes. This is one of the like 75-minute ones, not the 90-minute ones, right? And I feel like it's at its own pace. I get what they're trying to do with this bad guy. I don't know if I've bought it yet and it sold me. It wasn't until the end of the episode where I went, yeah, and then watched it again. But when Dog was there, what does he do? He barks like fucking crazy. Of course, Columbo has no idea how to take care of him or whatever like that. But on a bigger, more meta scale, I love the fact that he's barking at him, because what we see a little bit later is what?
When he gets to let the dog out, you mean?
Yes. Because because him and Oskar, they have their little conversation about stuff. And you're right, Columbo's kind of not buying it, but he's not pressing them, right? They're just talking a little bit. And I like it when it's a little slow back and forth, but I still think Harold is doing a great job of just like not giving a fuck and not giving stuff and not trying to be arrogant the way we've seen a lot of the alpha American type bad guys Columbo's gone up against that either accidentally or intentionally killed somebody, where they're just trying to explain their way or over help him out or whatever like that. This guy clearly just is not rattled at all about it. He's more annoyed, and I love that. I mean, this is not quite Leonard Nimoy's level in that one episode, because he's still the worst motherfucker out of all of them. But to this point, I'm going, okay, this is pretty good. But what does Dog do when he lets Dog out and he goes to leave? Of course, he's going to go, take a leak or whatever like that. Columbo finds him. And where does he find him?
With the wife out back with the flowers.
This is perfect, because what do dogs do? They do sense evil. And she's like loving on the sweet one. This is I think one of the most powerful scene probably in this episode, the way they're talking about it, because this is a natural, believable conversation. I'm sorry. He jumps up on people. Oh, don't apologize, and whatever. And I just think this actress, I think it's Gena Rowlands. I forgot what she's been in and stuff like that. Again, it's been 50 plus years. Before I give you my 2 cents on there, did you have any thoughts about this exchange between these two?
I think the most that I collect from this is the information that he gets about her talking about, like, oh, well, no, I didn't hear anything. I did wake up, and I called down, but my husband was still there. And I must have been I remember having a terrible dream, but I woke up and I saw my, I think she said towel, and then my clown in my chair, and everything was okay. I was like, what clown in your chair, lady?
Because families used to have handmade porcelain dolls and stuff like that. And that was a big fucking deal, bro. And honestly, when's the last time we've talked about scary dolls? And I'm a big scary doll fan. I really am, because they're creepy and weird, and we don't talk about them enough here on Xtreme Movie Show. But that's going to be pertinent later on. But obviously, you're not wowed by it.
No. Well, no. It was just such a wild thing, because I missed it. I missed any giant clown in a chair.
Didn't either. I did too until later. You're right. So maybe
but then we get.
Don't go past the scene, because I've got some feedback.
No, we're not going past the scene. We get him going to the art gallery.
All right, so hold on. This whole thing is the entire episode, because she's a beautiful woman. She's very strong. Women are never direct, and you can't be direct with women. Yeah, I mean, it's good that guys, hey, what's up? What's going on? Fine, good, whatever. One word answers. We're direct. Women are not that way. So this whole conversation is 100% believable. Not only did the dog bark at the evil bad guy, he finds the good human, which is her. Columbo comes up, and like you said, he's a little bit under the weather, which I'd kind of forgotten about or whatever. It wasn't necessarily pertinent, but it allows something to happen here. So they're having all the information that's going to happen between these two is not the reason why the scene is written, because that information that you accurately conveyed is going to be in it. The question is, how do you go about doing it? She's the wife. She's out there by herself, waiting to do something with her husband. She's like, you don't have to tiptoe around me. And she says it in a kind of nice, polite way. And they're talking. He's got a cold, and she notices that in him. So she sees something in him. So she's taking care of his needs. She's cutting flowers there. She's giving it to him for his wife. They're having this nice exchange about honey and lemon in the tea. They're doing all the little niceties and dainties that a good human being would do, and especially a properly raised woman. I know that sounds kind of old school, and a lot of new school people think, oh, that's bullshit. She's crippled in a wheelchair and she's got nothing better to do. It's not like that at all to me. I see it's completely different. I see her as completely 100% as elegant as Harold appears to be, at least the way he carries himself. I didn't even get any jealousy necessarily about what was going on between them, like, oh, he's cheating on me or like that. But the thing is she has such a heart to heart with Columbo, not necessarily about the facts that you mentioned here too, because this thing with Columbo, he knows how to listen, but he's great with the women because it's not about, oh, I think I woke up, I didn't, which becomes important because he did drug her. He gave her a sleeping pill and she mentions it, right? So it's not like if you didn't catch that at the beginning when he's pouring her the water and all that, you're like, oh, he's fucking drugging her ass because that's what it is, right? It's just that the mom's not really what this episode about, which could be a little disappointing. And I get the clown in chair could be a little anticlimactic, but I just thought it was such a powerful thing because the next scene is for comedic effect, which I think you want to talk about.
Oh,
I agree with you because this was funny, and I actually like the scene. I don't like all of Columbo's funny scenes, but this was perfect because the art in here is bullshit.
yeah, it is.
There's an eyeball in the mouth, like behind the really hot secretary that we saw earlier, the Hubba Hubba girl. And some of the art looking around here, I just don't get it. As an aside, because you'll understand this being a member of the Central Florida community like myself. I was where the old money is here in Orlando. I was in the city of Winter Park on Park Avenue. I went to a very upscale restaurant with Mrs. Xtreme. We decided to walk down, in the evening. It was a beautiful night. This is a couple weeks ago. Very cool weather here for Central Florida time. Beautiful, lovely, special evening that we have here in the spring. And there was an art gallery. And I stopped. And in the front window there, and you know how Park Avenue is with all their small shops. I look and I go, oh, that's a picture of Snoopy. And I went to take another step and I saw another big picture of Charlie Brown. I went, oh, they have some Charlie Brown pictures some artist did in his version. I was like, baby, let's go in here and check it out. She's like, okay. We walk in there and they're getting ready to have a showing in like an hour of this local artist that does nothing but Snoopy pictures, except for it looked like he took a dump on it and smeared it around, and it was very lumpy with really horrible colors that have nothing to do with any of the stuff that it looked like he took a couple strips from back in the day and just said, I'll make something like it. It looked like AI did it just with color stuff. It's like people that take like paint and then they put on a rope something, or they swivel it and they just dump shit on it and they call it art, because that's the kind of crap that's in this fucking studio. So not only was harassed by everybody that they want to like financially check you out. So, do you collect? I'm like, I have a few pieces. Well, blah, 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 blah. And so this whole scene is 100% spot on. Even though it's fun, this is how it is, bro. Oh, I love it. Because what's the one piece there? Let me see. Because I don't know my French. I don't speak Paris talk. But $1,200. It's some piece that looks like a piece of crap. It says Esprit du Chimor, which means the ghost of a dead dog. However, it does not end there, sir. Where does it end?
It ends with him asking. He turns to the end and he notices something up. And what is that? Well, that's that is the ventilator for our air conditioning. Oh, you could tell it was.
That's good.
I'm glad you enjoyed that.
You didn't.
No, because like obviously a lot of there are the traditional pieces in the back, like actual paintings. But go ahead and have this. Oh, that they're looking at that. It's just and then when he points out, he knew what that was. Come on. Like, even if you are distracted by a bunch of bullshit like he is, you know that that's just the air vent. Whatever. He gets the piece of information that he needed when he got the call.
I'm shocked that I enjoyed that and you didn't. I really am, because most of this stuff, especially with dog, I would not like. It would piss me off, but it worked for me, bro. It really, really did. Because the lady's like appeasing him, and all that too. And I honestly thought for a split second that maybe they might have brought in the hottie here as a part of it. It clearly wasn't to be. So alas, we won't see her again.
No, we won't see her again.
But a goddamn that's the real artwork in there.
And then the next part, I believe, is
where's the thing? We're in the third act. That's how fast this thing is moving.
Huh?
We're in the third act. That's how fast this episode is moving.
Yeah, it's already, because this is short. It's like only an hour 15. And most of them have been an hour and a half.
Yep.
almost an hour 40. So this one is quick. They get right to it. So here at the end, Columbo, he comes in with an officer, and they're bringing in this sandbox that's in this little bucket. The sand in a bucket. They set it down. Officer, I'm going to have you stand right there, please. And he pulls out a gun.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I suggest you plug up your ears, sir. I don't like guns. But unlike last week where he just gave it to the murderer to go ahead and shoot, he does it himself. While turning away and covering his ear, of course. But he does that. And what do we see in the distance? Or no, not see. We hear as the doors open. And the officer calls up, and we can hear the wife speaking because Columbo asked her to go there. Hey, I need you to tell me what you see and what you hear. And
before it gets to that point, though, I want to interject something here because I think it's pertinent to what you're describing. The wife is in there with her husband while he's at the office because she's now found out that her husband's going to lose control of the company. And here's the thing about her. She's not, I think, power hungry like we've seen. She's like, but what if I took over it? And even if it's just for a little while like that, she's honestly trying to help him out, not to placate him, not to, lick his wounds or, pat him on the head or take care of his, nothing like that. She genuinely cares about her husband. She's so in love with him. And it's not the disgusting doting type, like she's naive. She just doesn't, she's ignorant. She doesn't know that he was having affairs. He's very supportive to her and all that. And it's kind of sad because I thought maybe some women might hate her role thinking, oh, this is bullshit, a woman would know and all that. I don't know. And the thing is this is when his mask to me starts to slip because not only does he really fucking with Columbo, it's the first time his wife kind of sees him as being a real asshole because he's like, are you kidding me? Why would I remain in a position in a company subservient to my wife? And it's like, if somebody talked to me that way, and I don't care who you are, and you're talking to me that way, yeah, we're fucking done, bro, or bra, or woman, man. It was just so. This guy just felt like he could talk to her that way, and it's like, wow, that's the first time in front of her that happened. So this is the beauty of the shot because it's not a sexy episode with the scenes, but this is when Columbo's coming in, she's wheeling herself out, and nobody's paying attention to her. And she's completely hurt, and then they're going through the whole shooting thing, and he's pissed because, to your point, he's just annoyed that Columbo's there and he's not really explaining anything to her. He's letting him do all the talking and all that too. And he's like, what are you trying to prove here? It's beautiful on his part. It's something we have not seen before in a Columbo episode. Because remember, I think we skipped over mentioning early on, cameras can run, or something electronic can run 24 hours. But sometimes you usually use a sensor, whether it's light or sound or heat or some combination of it, for it to actually activate, right? So you have responders, transponders, these sorts of things that may send and or receive signals. And he had explained that to Columbo, and that's why they only had the one trained on, like you said, you're disappointed it wasn't all of it, but it was just on where the safe would be. And yeah, how would a burglar know that? But it doesn't matter because somebody was sneaking around, it should turn on. So, right, so it should capture anybody moving in that field, unless they knew to go in that back way, whatever. We don't hear that till later. But it's funny, he's like, Columbo, you got to help me. I don't see what the problem is here. He's not giving Columbo anything. This is great. Go ahead. I apologize.
So Columbo at this point, and he does the shot. They can hear that. I will explain, so just come with me to the room. They go into the room, and Columbo gets on the bed. Let me explain. You're here, and you're laying down. And this is why you have to be awake, because she's not even certain. And actually, Fenwick says she doesn't even know if she was awake at that time.
Right.
He says, but here's how I know, sir. And he's laying down, and the noise, he claps his hand, the door opens, and the clown in the corner gets revealed. And that's why.
What do you have against clowns? Because it is a clown. It's not really like
no, I don't have anything against clowns.
It's a clown, and it's weird.
It is odd. Can you imagine going to sleep with the clown right there every night?
Yeah. I was defending her, but I can't defend this.
But yeah, no. So the door opens. We see that. It's like, oh, that's how he knows that she woke up. She definitely heard something that stirred her, and she got to see everything. And it had to do with the sound, even though Van Wyck was there at the time. That's the key piece, because she calls down, Van Wyck picks up and says, "Oh yeah, I saw your mother went up there," and how is that possible? How could that be possible? Because if he was there, then he would have heard the shot. It must have been a noise, must have been something that opened that door, and it seemed like the gun. All I'll say is before we go into a diner and we're watching football as he's eating chili.
Yeah, I think the fact that his wife was upset and ends up going to her room, and then they go up to her room and do all this, that's just, I don't want to say smart, but I'll say efficient writing, because what I'd mentioned from before, because we see her kind of upset. So what is she? She's not listening to her husband. She's listening to Columbo talk it out. And again, going back to the scene that I referenced with Columbo and her and the dog going through all the polite niceties and all that stuff, they're just having a conversation. He's letting her talk. He would not have had any of that information from her at all unless they, the dog liked her, because the dog's name, we just call it Dog, right? Unless the dog really found her to be a nice woman and they were talking, and he's like, you know what, you're right, I don't have to tiptoe around you and all that too. He's not treating her like, oh my God, you're in the wheelchair, I got to be on pins and needles around her. And that made her feel comfortable to open up. They went through stuff like that. She helped out, talking about the tea and honey with his being sick and flowers for his wife. She's going to extra yard to be nice. She wants to be involved. She wants to be cared for. She wants to be seen. So it's not pathetical. I just thought she's very old school, nice woman. Like, oh, she's just a really nice woman, polite, just a really good person. And so it was interesting to me that in her world, everything has been nice. I'm not going to say privileged, even though they're in an uber rich house and husband runs the company. I don't get any sense of entitlement at all here. And that's what makes, I think, her acting special. And so to me, her husband, talk about being Severian, and she's just completely shocked to the core that she's distraught. And they go up there and she's seeing all that. Now she's like watching Columbo, because even though the conversation was between Columbo and Harold still hasn't given him anything. So the only way Columbo can get to where he's going is through this woman, kind of almost accidentally. And we do get a little bit of that because, again, we know when he goes in the bar or he sees a kid tying his shoe in a hospital, we're going to get what I call that flash of insight where something puts and ties everything together. Because the big issue here is the discrepancy between, was it 9/13 that he's set up as being the killing, the time he left versus the actual time of 9/30, and him going through these proofs in front of everybody is just to let the woman know he's right. So the only way that could have happened is blah, blah, blah. But he needs one more little thing to kind of seal the deal, as it were. But this is when the wheels are coming off, because this is almost like the end of the episode, if you think about it. And the fact that they don't know great technical detail about how everything works, I think is smart. But he hasn't been eating a lot. We haven't seen him with that in a lot of shows, but he is watching a football game. But what happens in a football game here that gives him a thought? Do you know?
Well, they go ahead and show a playback.
What's a playback, sir?
Where they rewind the footage and they go ahead and enhance it, so that way you can see the play up close and personal. And in that, he gets the idea to call the not the police lab, but go down to the actual company and split it at an exact moment, and he plays it at the exact same time so he can see what might be different from the time she was shot to the time that the guard comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets it. He shows up.
We don't see it. I didn't see it. Did you?
No, not until it gets pointed out. And actually, I was watching with my my younger brother, and that was one of his problems with it. He liked it. He liked the episode, but to have it go ahead and have it where it's, zoom in right there, and it zooms in, and it's clearly not the same camera.
Yeah.
And especially at that time, in that day and age, that bothered him. But yeah, so Columbo shows up with an officer, and he asks Van Wyck to show the footage. They sit there, they get it set up, and he shows what's different. And he gets it zoomed in. The invitation. The invitation to the party. His alibi. It is in the shot when the mother is shot. And then it stops. And the guard comes in. It is gone. And at that point, he goes into a spiral and is like, tell the detective that it wasn't me. Tell him. And she says, no. And that's the end of our episode. I mean, he also does go with the officer. He's not going to get arrested. He doesn't want to get cuffed. He's, no, not like this. And he just follows along.
Fucking grade A plus brilliant stuff here, bro. I've said before that sometimes, and I keep referencing the Dick Van Dyke episode because that's the weak one to me in this season. I know a lot of people have praise for it. The way a writer and a director chooses to go about their stuff, we have to accept it and believe it, whether we like it or not. And I've said sometimes you get something that does everything right, doesn't do anything wrong, it's okay, but if it's not entertaining, whatever. And sometimes you go, it wasn't that good, but the way they did it made it special, or they had a great scene or whatever. I don't know. For me, the mother-in-law dying early on really kind of almost meant nothing to me. Like, I didn't be like, oh, I wish that bitch got it, look bad. Like, some people, I'm like, glad they're dead, right? Honestly. And the old Port to Storm comes to mind here too with his brother, I want to see Donald Pleasance whack his ass. I think too here, even though she had told him, hey, I'm going to basically, tell my daughter that you're fucking around on her and she's in a wheelchair. How do you think that's going to go, bro? Yeah, I'm kicking you off. Here's what you're going to do. I get it. I don't have any problem with that. But him being a playboy, not only did I not kind of believe it at first, but now I could believe it with watching him. The actress Trish Noble, who plays Marcy or whatever her name is, the hottie that I mentioned and all that, they didn't use her as like an alibi like we saw in some other previous episodes where other women start to be a part of it. And I honestly, instead of saying, oh, they could have done more with the women or more with something or could have gone in this direction, I think it would have been better. I honestly think in this case, and I hate saying less is more. I mean, Evie Malmsteen guy, more is more. I like the fact that it was just a tease there, just between what the mom said and watching the way she looked at him when he walked in that first time. That is such a stunning photo of her and look. But that's the whole point, is that when you're watching that, you're supposed to know as an adult, yeah, they're gonna be fucking any day now. I mean, and it doesn't matter that he's married or whatever's going on. And you could look at her and go, I got an average to decent looking woman who's paralyzed at home or whatever and all that too. Or I could be banging this hottie at the art director and I've been banging women left and right. We don't need to know all of the conquest, but just that he's capable of it, and that's what he does. And not diving into it allowed us to focus on the fact that you said the most important thing about this episode that makes him different, I think, very strong. He just doesn't give a rat's ass and gives Columbo nothing. The only way Columbo can catch him is through by dealing with really his wife kind of once, basically. I mean, he talks to her a little bit, right when the death happens, but it's that scene on the patio where she's cutting flowers and the birds are chirping, she's petting the dog. This is such an incredible scene. And then here at the end with her crying, being no, realizing what an asshole he is, that is us, I think, as a viewer going, wow, unbelievable. And the little touch that you mentioned just now, him refusing to be handcuffed and just walking away, he totally fucking loses it on her. Tell him we da-da-da. I mean, and he was never even close to that. If you can't hear me, I'm clapping because even though I'm shitting on this guy's hairstyle, I can take that away because I thought he phenomenally acted in here. I thought his wife was great in here, and there's really not much else. This is an incredible episode to me. It's not fun. Just like Patrick McGoon's episode, the last one there, it's not fun, but fuck, it's good. And these are more serious to me. I prefer these episodes. Dan, this is a really good one here, sir. Final thoughts or other observations?
It's so funny just how, like, I feel like this episode and last episode have just been weak. Like,
really?
Yeah. This one with like I like Oskar Werner. Yes, he's very, very entertaining. But the way that the crime is solved, like with enhance, it's.
You don't like the zooming in?
No.
The looking for discrepancies between
because
picture A and picture B?
No. We have a CCTV at Publix. And let me tell you, those cameras have been around. They were here after this episode was there, and they are of worse quality. And there's no saying what money he poured into it, but it just feels like it's trying to be ahead of its time with that.
It
And
was at the
that's fine.
time.
That's fine. It's just it doesn't. I wasn't drawn in by the mother-in-law. I did. I liked his performance. And I like his performance here at the end where he starts freaking out. This is insane. Tell him. I like that. Yes. But the actual mystery itself feels weak. Just like the last one where you had him solve it with a feather. It's I don't know. I know you don't like that Dick Van Dyke episode, but for me, that was the last well, no. Patrick McGowan was after that. So Patrick McGowan's was the last really good episode. But the Dick Van Dyke one was good for me too. Like the actual mystery of how it's set up for Columbo to discover. I liked that in comparison to this last one and the one before. I'm just I'm shocked how different we're viewing these.
Man, yeah, I think what it is and this is something we'll talk about later in another stream because when we finish up all these episodes in this season, we'll go back and rank them all and talk about them. And at some point, we'll talk about what we think makes an episode work. And there's lots of different things, right? Fun versus seriousness versus coolness factor of just things or whatever. Like everybody to me loves Jack Cassidy. I think he's phenomenal. I can't wait to see him again. And Robert Colt maybe. And it's just to me, your story is your story, and it's the template, right? We know what it is for the most part. So the question is they're pretty much following for the most part. How can they make it a little bit different or more interesting? Is it the intensity of a particular actor? Like William Shatner is going to overact to people. Some people are going to underact. I think this guy brought a completely different vibe to it. So I'm looking at how well they did their performance. But a part of me too is also looking at the special ones or the ones where either they hate each other, really fucking hate each other, or they really, really kind of like each other, or Columbo kind of likes the guy. But any of them that's not on flip sides of the same coin, I think these conversations can be had because I don't give a shit how elaborate the killing is. I think Robert Culp, was in the second or third episode where we have that. I still think about it to this day. It's one of the best shots I've ever seen in television, even to this day, where the woman falls back and into the glass thing, and we see it in the reflection of his glasses, and it was an accidental murder. I think that's the contact lens episode. I look at that and went, man, that's fucking creative. That's cool. That's hip. Right now, we don't have hip going on, even though this was cutting edge at the time. And I know that you look at it and go, oh, that's laughable. I get it. But it's just 2 generations ago. And that's not to excuse it or say it's okay. But the human element, when they get that right between how men and women are, that's universal. It doesn't matter that it's 2 generations ago. I know I like to talk about the food and the dressing and all that, because at the end of the day, that's what I think helps Columbo solve it is, the feather. Yeah, I told you I thought that was kind of weak, right? But what was the human thing about it? Oh, the bitch, was fooling around on everybody. Goes sings Volare, goes to, she's basically a slut, so we don't care that she gets murdered because she was going to whack this dude. So, or she was going to, blackmail this guy. So she gets whacked. Okay, she deserves it. I don't care. I mean, but the feather was weak because it wasn't so much the human element. It was just, I don't know. That's the thing when it's done really, really well. Sometimes these side characters can make the episode to it. Because honestly, who's been the best, most funnest bad guy?
Oh, it's Donald Pleasance.
Donald Pleasance? Okay, what about Johnny Cash?
Johnny Cash was good. I just rewatched that with a friend of mine yesterday. Because I've been showing him episodes of Columbo. And that was the one that I went ahead and I was like, I want you to see this one. And it's a very good one. I like him, but I think the most enjoyable bad guy has been Donald Pleasance.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, but it's interesting here in this episode because this guy, I think I'm giving him a lot of credit. I don't really know him. I think he was in a movie called The Spy Who Came in from the Cold. I think had Richard Burton in it, which is a phenomenal, really dark spy movie from the early 60s during the Cold War. I remember that because I think it's a John Le Carre novel. Maybe pronouncing that wrong. Could be Carre or something. I think it's French. It's So I don't know him. Apparently, he had some issues, so it didn't get too much bigger after this episode. I thought the guy was phenomenal. I thought it was a completely different take, and I was really blown away by how great his wife acted in here. I think that really stands out in what would normally to be, I think, a rather pedestrian episode, right? Because it's 75 minutes long. Yeah, we got Dog in here, which is always a negative. But this time, at least Dog served a purpose, being together with her out there on the patio. And thankfully, like I say, sometimes you get a scene in Columbo that's not necessarily the murder or the gotcha. To me, there's something between those two that really has been standing out as the key episode. And that's why when we did the Patrick Magoon episode, I was like, hey, did you get a vibe that he's a closeted gay guy? Because that's a theory. And I think when he said, hey, would you like a cigar and all that, that's when he's defeated. And so sometimes you don't see that the first time. But then, like, again, it's just the way, me being older than you, being an 80s teenager, and you being the young 20-something currently, it's interesting to see those things because you're right. Who gives a fuck about the CCTV and all that? It does seem kind of stupid and lame, but we don't need to dive into it because it's not pertinent. It's the fact that this guy's so good at what he does. He was running the company well. Maybe he feels like he doesn't deserve to be fired, so he's going to whack his mother-in-law and blah, blah, blah. But they just portrayed him as being cold and incalculable. I mean, this guy's really, really strong, and it's amazing because, I feel like we've been on the opposite sides on many of the episodes here in season 4. Anything else?
One more thing. No, got nothing.
I see what you did there too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in and retweeting out the link for it. Next week, Wednesday night, live, 9 p.m., we'll be doing the final episode of season. This will be episode 6, I think. I think that's the last one. Yep. And then a week after that, we'll be doing our season review and putting them in order. We'll be live Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Miami Vice episode 6, I think it is as well. Calderon's Return. It's part 2 of season 1. RDV and I will be reviewing that. And then we've got Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern with a action movie to be determined. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching, listening, tuning in here to the Xtreme Movie Show. Good night now.
Good night.